Mossad. Iya. Dulu. Iya. Ini gara-gara hujan koneksi jelek nih. Teman-teman, gimana gambarnya? Jelas kan ya? Biasa pakai Zoom, pakai IG Live nih, jadi kacau. Gimana kabarnya teman-teman nih? Banyak yang masuk. Oke, Rashid 87. Halo, Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum, apa kabar?
It works or not?
Yeah,
Still same.
it
It
is.
works.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah.
If you can see me.
Okay, I can see you better now.
How are you? How is everything?
Everything looks pretty bad right now in Indonesia. How's it in Iran?
Alhamdulillah, it's calming here.
Okay.
So
Go
can
ahead,
you
brother.
please tell us the story of, let me begin with the history of what happened actually, because I had the history of Joko and I kind of liked him because I as an Iranian, because he, as I heard, he for Muslim. Do you have me?
Yeah, but the signal is not so good. Okay, go ahead.
I think he and his policy is over. His foreign policies and also his domestic policies was not so bad as I heard. But what has happened? Where did it begin actually? Can you tell us the story of the behind the story?
Yeah, so we have a pandemic situation here in Indonesia. As you can see, that we're facing struggle in the public health, and so many people laid off, so become the unemployed, and then the poverty rate is jumping down. And during this kind of the situation, the Jokowi domestic policy with the parliament, he launched the omnibus law. So it's like many part of the law they want to revise it in a single hit. So this omnibus law is intended to bring more investment and then to bring more employment. But the situation is getting worse because this is during the pandemic, and then the omnibus law is not the answer of the pandemic situation. So instead, the government focusing more on the public health. What we have right now is the government is simply put aside the public health and then more focusing on the investment. But the question is, if the pandemic is not solved yet, I don't know what's happened in the Iran, but in Indonesia, if the pandemic is still high, and then we're talking about something else, the investment will not come to Indonesia. They will keep maybe selecting another country. So this is the first thing, and the second one is, if we look detail, because omnibus law is very huge, brother. We have 905 pages. So 905 pages of the law, and if we see more detail, for instance, in the labor section, they said that many worker rights is declining of the labor right. More working hour, and then less holiday for the worker, and then the worker is put in the job uncertainty because they will be pushing as a temporary worker for a very, very long time, unlimited to become a temporary worker, and then people see that this is like not good, yeah, for the worker protection. And from the environment side also, many protests recently. Even we have a pandemic, but some people brave to have a protest because this omnibus law is also endangered the environmental side. So from the environmental side,
How?
there is yeah, there is a changing of the permit. So investment is supported with the less standard of the environmental. So it's creating like anger, yeah, in the public, yeah. And that's interesting because this omnibus law is not only protest by the student, and it's not only protest by the NGO, yeah, non-government organization, not by the people also, but some of the investor, they also protesting the president, protesting Mr. Jokowi, because he put the environmental danger in the future if this omnibus law will be implemented soon.
When you say the investments, you mean the investment from outside the country or inside the country?
Exactly.
Can you
The
explain it a
foreigners.
little bit more?
Okay.
Foreign investment.
Foreign, yeah, foreign investment. So just after the omnibus law bill is passed in the parliament, many investor, I think it's like 4 trillion dollar something amount of the investment. I think it's the huge money of the investor. They signed the letter and sent it to the president of Jokowi. And this is the same investor that protesting the Bolsonaro. When Bolsonaro is responsible for the Amazon, you know, what is it? Amazon burning, yeah, Amazon rainforest burning at the time. So this kind of the investor, especially from the developed country, from the Europe, from the US, they're very much concerned about the environmental protection. But this omnibus law also help some of the type of the investor, which is the lower quality of the investment. You know, investor in the extractive industry, they're happy with this omnibus law. Investor in the mining sector, they're happy because less environmental regulation and standard. Also investment from, you know, from the textile garments, some of the investor, not all, but some of the investor in the garment textile industry, which is labor intensive industry, they also happy because they can pay lower, not lower wages, but lower like a severance payment, for instance, because of this.
But as I heard, as I remember, Jokowi when he came to the administration, actually, I heard that the American people are, for example, the American investors are so interested in the actually the mines of in Indonesia.
Yeah.
From Obama to here, and I heard Jokowi has cut their hands. Is it again an open policy for the investors of the United States and the other countries to come and invest, or actually steal the resources of the Indonesia or something like that?
So actually, we have to kind of a factor why even the U.S. investor is not happy. Some of the U.S. investor is not happy with the Jokowi investment policy, with the omnibus law. The first one is because during that election in 2014, yes, many Western leaders appraised the Jokowi move, right? But the development after the first election 2014, after that election, Indonesia policy in terms of the investment is more attracting the Chinese investment rather than Western country investment. So there's a changing of the geopolitics and changing of the economic strategy. So maybe a lot of investment from China will be happy because at the time also US have Mr. Donald Trump, and the relation of Donald Trump to Indonesia is not that so good, yeah, compared with the Obama. You know, Obama always said that I was live in Jakarta when I was a childhood, said Obama, yeah, eating some Indonesian food, traditional food, and so on. But it is very different that Donald Trump, they even never come to Indonesia, as far as I remember. Only the vice president of the US come to Indonesia, Mike Pence, yeah, at the time. So this is the situation that I think changing of the player of the investment, it is not only the Western people or Western investment that will be attracting to come to Indonesia, but more likely from the Chinese investment, which is the omnibus law, is the answer to attracting more Chinese investment. Because there is some specific article that state that it is not necessary or it is not obligatory for the foreign worker to come to Indonesia using like a specific permit. Yeah, and then this is like make a Chinese company happy because many foreign worker in the last 5 years is coming from the Chinese company, Chinese mainland to Indonesia. So this is clear that changing of the player
And
that
the
makes
people doesn't like that, no?
yeah, of course, yeah, because you know at that time the unemployment rate for the youth
They don't
people,
like Chinese, or they don't like foreign workers and laborers at all.
no, I think right now it's specific for the Chinese foreign worker. Chinese foreign worker specific, yeah, because the number is jumping a lot in the last 5 years. So it's also creating problem that if you are Iranian, for instance, previously you want to work in Indonesia, you need to study bahasa. You need to study the bahasa language, right?
The language. Right.
Yeah. But the Chinese is a problem because the government, put aside the obligatory or mandatory to speak in bahasa in Indonesia. So they keep talking with the Chinese language, and then the people said that if you want to invite foreign worker to adding our skill and knowledge, right? Because that's the purpose of the foreign worker, to make us the local people is learning something new. But if you're using the foreign language, the Chinese, the Mandarin language, so how the local people will understand it? And this is creating like a huge inequality gap. So this is the problem we have right now, specific for the Chinese foreign worker.
Yeah. And you mentioned already that the people that are in the streets and that are protesting against the new policies are laborers also, and the students and normal people, or I mean, is that a kind of a special group in the street? Can you explain that a bit more?
Yeah, I think because this is omnibus law, so many section is affected by this law, from the worker right, from the environmental protection, and then we can say even they also talking about the monopoly halal industry also. They're talking a lot of the things. So we have situation here in Indonesia, people protesting. I mean, the people is a student, the NGO, and also from the Muslim community. You know, the largest Muslim community in Indonesia, Muhammadiyah and Nahdlatul Ulama, also, disagree with the government and parliament step to issue the omnibus law, especially during this kind of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And how about Hayemi, for example? Hayemi is behind this, the protesters?
Yeah, Hayemi is also one of the prominent
is in the streets,
right? Yeah, of course. They're in the street from Jakarta, Bandung, Makassar. Yeah, a lot of.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask: is it just Jakarta, or is it also the other cities who are involved in the protesting?
Every city. There's every city. Yeah, this is the massive protest. We have the massive protest when we protesting the new anti-corruption law, but it's last year. But this one is one of the biggest rally ever since last year.
Yeah, and they and I heard something in the news that the people are protesting actually the neoliberal policies. Is it really a neoliberal as you can, I mean, analyze it, or is it just a remedy for the economy of Indonesia? How
I
can
think
you,
it's
I mean, as it
yeah,
seems you are with the protesters, but can you a little bit, I
yeah.
mean,
I
detail it
also,
for
of
us that
course,
we don't know? Yeah,
of course, I need to join the protest. This is
yeah,
the important moment for us to speak up. So, if we're talking about the liberalism in Indonesia, yeah, this is very, very clear in the omnibus law. I give you example of the food article, article talking about the food. So in the article talking about the food, they said that previously imported food can be do if the local production and then the national stock is not is not is not fulfilling the right demand. But what happened right now during the omnibus law, the position of the imported food is equal to the national production and national stock. So the farmer is also said that who's gonna be the farmer if you can do any import as you wish, as you want. So this is one of the liberal neoliberal policy in the food cluster. That's only one thing. And the other thing is so many foreign investor already receive many tax incentive. We call it tax holiday, tax allowance, previously. But in this omnibus law, they receive more incentive. And this is not trickle down economic effect. When the rich people, the corporate, receive a lot of the fiscal incentive, the fact is the rate of unemployment rate is keep increasing. So government give a lot of incentive to the corporate, they laid off a lot of people. So this is kind of the contradiction.
yeah. Actually, we believe that liberalism has failed in all over the world, and it is not a, I mean,
No, it's not over.
prescription
It's
for.
changing. It's
Yeah,
changing.
it's over. Actually, I mean, the United States itself is going down, and the people are looking for another system, another
Yeah.
actually structure to rule the country. But unfortunately, we have the same problem in here too. I mean, the government that is now in the administration is very, very much into and is go for the liberal policies, and that's the same problem. And we have, I mean, we have failed in here too. I mean, the economy and the pandemic is going not really good.
What
Actually,
happened
I
right
just
now?
wanted to inform you.
What happened right now? The situation in Iran.
It's a long story, but I mean that's the main reason. I mean the liberal policy and the liberal approach of the government is causing so many problems. I mean every time if the governments are looking outside the country for their solutions, well, I mean it doesn't matter if it's a agreement or it's a investment or any other helps, that will cause a problem. I mean that would bring the country down, because if in vice versa, if a country depend on his people, rely on his people, and go for the production and build the economy actually this way, it will be growing, and it will be, of course, we have a different situation from you because we are in sanctions, under many
Yeah.
sanctions from all over the world now, except a few countries. So, I mean, the situation is here, in here is very different. So I wanted to ask you about the future of the, I mean, you said last year you also had a protest, but it wasn't like this. So
Yeah.
how do you see the future and the result of this protest right now? How does it end?
I think this momentum is very, very important for us because, yeah, the government is not, acknowledging the common people voices. They keep talking about the investment, they're talking about the economic growth, but in fact, the people more needed the public health, and the people right now more needed how to have like a social protection. And the better social protection is not in the omnibus law at all. So this is like kind of make people angry. And then the future, the first one is we want to repeal the omnibus law bill as soon as possible. This is, if we push the government, the president, I think inshallah he will be listening to the people. If the protest is massive and the protest is all over the country do the same. And the second one is uh, we want to see that the future of Indonesia, because Indonesia is a big country, a lot of people. We have 270 million people, and right now we have in the peak of the productive people, productive young generation. We have 90 million millennial, yeah. So this is like a good engine actually. If the government is rely on the local food industry, rely on the creative economy, but not just opening many things to the foreign investor. So I think that's we believe that in the future we still have a hope if the government listening to us.
Inshallah. I hope you will success, inshallah, and push the government back. I think the liberalism in Indonesia had also a little bit good points, but in economy we can't say it's a good thing actually, as you said. Thank you for your time and thank you for your explanation.
Yeah.
It was really nice meeting you.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Hussein.
you.
See you again.
Terima kasih.
Yeah,
Bye.
welcome. Bye.